What's up, A to Z Sports live on a Monday, having a busy Monday morning here at A to Z Sports as the Titans agreed to terms with Quandre Diggs reportedly last night. I guess it hasn't yet been made official by the team itself, but the Titans still getting work done in the free agent market, adding yet another safety for the second time in 3 weeks. The Titans have added a veteran free agent safety to this defense long after the regular free agent additions are made across the NFL. But we're going to talk about Quandre Diggs, what it means for this defense, what it means for a couple other guys that have been on this roster getting some time with Jamal Adams, a former Diggs teammate in Seattle the last several years. How does this work? Amani Hooker, Elijah Molden, other players on the secondary that will have their jobs and roles shuffled around because Quandre Diggs, three-time Pro Bowler, is joining the Titans this week. And it's also game week, Sam. It's game week. It's preseason game week for the Titans, as the Titans have a game on Saturday. But we'll talk about some of the notes that we had, some observations from the double weekend practices Saturday and Sunday for training camp at St. Thomas Sports Park. Before the age game, I've got an age game person in mind. So, Sam, you'll be playing it today. So welcome in. I apologize for being extra late today. I'll explain once we get the official open from the show going. But, Sam, welcome in. Thank you for being patient. Thanks, everybody, for being patient. So we're going to get this thing going and have a great show here on this Monday.
All right, welcome in. Before we get going today with our conversation, make sure everybody watching that's been hanging out in the chat shares the show. You know, people might have dipped out of here while Austin was away. So make sure you share the show, get them back in. Hit the share button on Facebook, send that YouTube link into a group chat to a Titans fan in your life. Let them know that it's game week and you got to be tuning into A to Z Sports during game week. So share the show before we go. Don't forget to like the show before we go. And let's get it going here on a Monday morning, Austin.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8-ish on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans and get a quote today using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So we are a little bit later today than normal. That's my fault. But, you know, it was for good reason. But we will discuss Quandre Diggs reported yesterday. Who was the first on this report? Was it Schefter, Rappaport, or was it Quandre Diggs himself?
It was Quandre Diggs himself that, yes, announced it to the world that he was a Tennessee Titan.
Yeah, 5-time All-Pro dad and 3-time Pro Bowler Quandre Diggs announced it to himself. We'll get to that in a second. But, yeah, I extra late today because I got a text from Buck in the 6 o'clock hour. Said, any advice? And it was a picture of a dog in a crate outside of Crossroads Rescue. So I called Buck, and he found a pup outside of Crossroads. It does not open until 10. This was at I don't know when Buck went on his morning run, but he found this dog. He was at home by this point, so had to talk with Buck, talk to my wife, who has some passing dog rescue as well. So Buck is attempting to get some help with this situation. So the dog had fleas. Dog's super friendly, but fleas and a little bit hungry. So Buck had to wait for some things to open. But hopefully Buck can get some help, as he tweeted that out there this morning as well. So that's why it's a little bit late. I've been doing some phone tag outside of the show responsibilities this morning. But all of that is now moving forward. And Darren says Buck is a cat person. Well, Buck has a bleeding heart. I remember the days when Buck started with A to Z Sports. He was a zero pet person. He was anti-pet everything. Now he's got 3 cats, and now he has currently a temporary foster dog that he found this morning, and couldn't walk away from the Crossroads yard, I guess, before they opened. Couldn't leave the dog out there for another 4 hours. And again, shade off the top, because I'm not going to be on tomorrow's show. Shade. Cowards dropping off a dog before they open at a rescue. Cowards. Just leaving the dog out outside in the morning humidity and heat for I don't know how long the dog was sitting there before Buck came across it, but absolute cowards for doing that. And shout out to Buck for doing the right thing. I hope anybody watching would do the same type of thing if able there to get help for this little pup. So, all right, Sam, now let's move on. Quandre Diggs is the new Titan safety, and we mentioned it. Here it was, right? Q Diggs 6 on X. Long-awaited news. 5 times All-Pro dad, 3-time Pro Bowler. Quandre Diggs agreed to term with the Titans in a 1-year deal. We do know some extra information. It's a 1-year, $3 million contract with a couple different $1 million incentives that he can get there. So it could be worth up to a $5 million max value. But Sam, your reaction to the Titans adding yet another free agent safety, also from Seattle, who will be in town next week for joint practices against this Titans team.
I mean, this is what Titans fans have been asking for. This is what a lot of people were asking for, even after the Jamal Adams signing. The concern with Jamal Adams was always, hey, maybe he brings value to the Titans, but is he really your coverage safety that can split the field with Amani Hooker and can really be your ball hawk pass coverage safety back there? And maybe not, right? Maybe that's not Jamal Adams' game, but that is Quandre Diggs' game. And I really like, Austin, the fact that this is a guy who has been healthy. He has not missed a game in the last 4 seasons. He has played good football very recently. Like, this is not Jamal Adams, who's been 2, 3, 4 years since he was at his very best. I mean, that 3-time Pro Bowler that he mentioned was from 2020 to 2022. So, this is Ran Carthon and the Titans filling a big need here. And yeah, this is from Jack when he was previewing the free agent safety still on the market. He's 31 years old, but his best football is not far behind him. 3 straight Pro Bowls, 2020 to 2022, 14 interceptions in that time frame. And, he had another one last season. All 17 games started in 2023, hasn't missed a game in 4 seasons and a career high 95 tackles last year, Austin. So, the Titans, this was probably one of the weaker spots on their team, was what were they going to do at safety after Amani Hooker? Elijah Molden hasn't been great by any means. And now Quandre Diggs adds another veteran presence into that room. And I'm 2 thumbs up for it. Like, you have the money. Yeah. We talked a couple weeks ago about how the Titans still had some salary cap remaining. And so, hey, spend it, improve your team, and find a need and go get your guy.
Yeah, before we dive deeper into this, because you brought up the Titans had the money, right? They had the salary cap space. And I do want to make – I'm not saying this is the Titans situation, but do want to make an important, I think, comment about cap space. The Titans have cap space. Does that necessarily mean they have the money, right? Because do they have the cash to spend the cap space? Because if Amy Adams-Strunk has dished out so much cash over this offseason, just because you've got cap space doesn't mean you have the cash to spend it, which maybe is why they waited until, July, and now August 4th was yesterday before, Jamal Adams in July and Diggs in August of, needing some extra cash. Because when you sign contracts in the NFL that has guaranteed money, then you have to have that cash available just in case you cut the player and you have to pay out that cash immediately. So there is some nuance to that. But yeah, I think a great signing in a needed signing from the Titans for Quandre Diggs. And so let's go ahead and get the chat involved even more this morning because want to get you guys rolling. I owe you guys an early question and some early comments to read because of my tardiness this morning. But what's one word to describe the Titans signing free agent safety Quandre Diggs? What is one word for the Titans to describe the Titans signing free agent safety Quandre Diggs? We'll get to your comments here in a moment. But first, I want to tell everybody about our training camp sponsor, and that is Smoky Mountain Tops. If you are looking to upgrade your kitchen or bath countertops, call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. They've been family owned and operated for over 30 years, and you've seen their work in Bridgestone Arena and Neyland Stadium. It is the best of the best, and they want an opportunity to earn your business. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the luxurious Handstone Apimio Quartz collection as seen in both studios, Nashville and Knoxville. Handstone Quartz is known for quality and exceptional design. Handstone Quartz also has over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw inspiration from. So if you want to upgrade your kitchen or bath, Smoky Mountain Tops is where to go. Call them to schedule an appointment, 615-922-6539, or go to SmokyMountainTops.com and tell them you heard them on A to Z Sports. So Sam, I will toss it to you in the chat. One word to describe the Titans signing free agent safety Quandre Diggs yesterday on August 4th. What's the chat saying this morning?
Jay says value. Zach Green says bolstered. Kendall says clutch. Defense from Darren Lee. We've got Seahawk from Steven. We've got security from John McDaniels. Awesome. Christmas. Needed. Competitive. Chef. Relieved. Phenomenal. Solid. Needed. These are some of the words that the chat is saying here. Playoffs. Expected. Impressive, contingency, complete, fulfillment, sweet. I see a lot of this word, Austin, needed. That is the most popular word in the chat right now. We've got, we got a couple people cheating, trying to combine multiple words together as if I won't notice that you're giving me 3 words. Value from Devin Mills. We've got help from Corey Fessler. We've got loaded from Billy Jones. Wise from Joshua Richards. Austin, I will go ahead and give you my one word here. My one word for the Quandre Diggs signing is aggressive, because that is number one, the mantra of this Denard Wilson defense. Aggressive, attack, bring the fight to the offense, blitz like crazy, create turnovers, chaos up front. That's what Denard wants to do. I think Quandre Diggs will help them do that. And this is aggressive from the Titans front office, which is what they have done all offseason. I really have to give Rand Carthon, Chad Brinker, Brian Callahan to a degree, and this Titans front office a lot of credit. Amy Adams Strunk as well, like you mentioned, for dishing out all this cash, because heading into the offseason, if you would have told me that the Titans were adding 6 to 7 impact defensive players who will either start or see significant playing time for Denard Wilson, I would have been shocked. But I probably would have told you that means they're going to neglect the offense. And yet here we are with them adding a left tackle in J.C. Latham, a starting center in Lloyd Cushenberry, potentially your starting right guard in Sadiq Charles. They got Calvin Ridley. They got a backup quarterback in Mason Rudolph. They got Tony Pollard back there with Tajay Spears. And then on the defense, we know this story. It's Snead, it's Awuzie, it's Sebastian Joseph Day, it's Kenneth Murray, it's Jamal Adams. Now it's Quandre Diggs. The Titans have taken every single one of their needs as a team and found a way to address it with a quality player. And you really cannot say that about many front offices or off seasons around the league, that your front office looked at a sheet, said, here's where we need to improve, and they did something at every single spot. Think about what Indianapolis Colts fans are feeling right now with what their secondary looks like, with players like Quandre Diggs sitting out there on the market and Chris Ballard sitting on his hands. But you cannot say the same thing about Rand Carthon. So I tip my hat to him. And I think Titans fans should be overjoyed, because you've done all you can do as a front office in this offseason to make the 2024 Titans competitive.
So I've updated a graphic. We've had our new starters graphic from acquired players in the offseason. Well, I had to go add to it. And so it's getting busier, Sam. Like, I had to export to a different, smaller file to upload this thing for all the different player images I'm having to add to this. And I don't even have Sadiq Charles on here yet, because I don't know if it is, after watching Dylan Radins play right guard with the first unit over the weekend, because Sadiq Charles is out for a personal reason that has not been disclosed yet. I'm not sure who the right guard is going to be, but all of these players acquired in one offseason that are new starters, and I want to get to Jamal Adams in a second, but Kenneth Murray, I think, has been really impressive in what we've seen. Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, we've known about for a bit. Snead and Tyler Boyd's had a good weekend. Sebastian Joseph Day in the top right Chargers there to go along with Cheeto, who's out for a little bit with a calf injury. And Tandre Sweat has really come up. But I added the 2 Seahawk DBs here, in Diggs in the top left and Jamal Adams in the top right. I think just before I dive into my one word here, like, do you consider Jamal Adams does Jamal Adams belong on this graphic? Does Quandre Diggs belong on this graphic right now for new starters acquired this offseason? What do you think, Sam?
Diggs, yes. Adams, no, for me.
Okay.
Because if you're looking at starters, I'm looking at a traditional, like, who's the top 11? And I think in most sets, Adams is not one of your top 11. Let's just put them in a base defense, right? And he's not a deep safety. It's probably Jack Gibbons with Kenneth Murray. You've got Hooker. You've got probably Diggs deep. And then you've got your three cornerbacks, four guys with their hand in the dirt up front: Sweat, Simmons, Harold Landry, and whoever you've got on the opposite of Landry coming off the edge. I don't really expect that to be Jamal Adams. Now, in some like dime packages, it will be, but I don't think he's a starter in your base defense. I do think Quandre Diggs is probably your safety too right now. Like, I think this slides Elijah Molden down the depth chart a little bit. So I would say yes to Diggs and no to Adams. But Austin, like, Devin comments here and says, I've never seen them flip a roster like this. And you can go and throw this up again.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Devin has never seen this. You know why? Because, like, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. Like, I think I did go on the record before the offseason and say, here's the problem. The Titans have all these needs, and it's just not possible to do it all in one offseason. It's just not possible. They've kind of done it all in one offseason. And no, these are not all long-term fixes for the team. This is not like, not all of these are even going to work. But man, so many fan bases around the league cannot say their team tried at every single position of need with high draft picks and, quality or at least high upside free agent signings. Like,
Yeah.
This is really unforeseen. So yeah, Devin, you haven't seen anything like this, and the league really hasn't either. I'd be really hard pressed. Like, I'm curious to find another team in NFL history that will have this many new players starting week 1 than the 2024 Titans after the 2023 turnover.
Well, I think it's not that it's just new starters or new faces, because on that graphic, there are 12 players and new starters, or maybe it's key contributors, right? Because Jamal Adams is going to contribute, right?
Well, key contributors, it expands even more, because then, like, your third inside linebacker is a rookie in Cedric Gray. Like, you go down the list more.
Jarvis
like,
Brownlee Jr. is growing, and to think that he might become a key contributor at some point this season. So if you make it key contributors and then you add in Sadiq Charles, you're talking about approaching 14 to 15 new faces as key contributors, where maybe an NFL team has 30 key contributors. If you've got 11 and 11 starters, and I'm not including special teams on this, but like 30 key contributors on a football team, and you're talking about flipping half of that, and the majority of it is free agents. Like, we're talking about spending money. This is not new faces because you had a dozen draft picks and you had 2 first-round picks, 2 picks in the third round, and a second rounder, where you're like, oh, that's like 5 top 80 picks. You can go reload right now with young guys. No, this is free agent money, cash being spent, which I think is super impressive on that. And so your one word, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's cash being spent. It's super impressive. There's just positions across the board that also could be in this mix that we haven't talked about, right? Like, what does right tackle look like? I think Nicholas Petit-Frere is currently the favorite, but, like, would anybody be surprised if Leroy Watson was starting at tackle at some point for the Titans this season? Like, I certainly would not be. So there are possibilities to get even more of your new free agent signings in this rotation and relevant for your team. And some people say this doesn't work. Billy Jones points out, like, the Rams did a lot of this and they won a Super Bowl by doing it. Darren says, Ran, even if it doesn't work, boy, you're doing your job. And this is really what I agree with most. This may not work in the sense of the Titans have made the playoffs, but what I've loved about what Ran has done is that I don't think this handicaps the Titans for the future all that much. There are a lot of one-year deals and some financially flexible deals for the Titans where they will still have enough flexibility to make moves in the future, even if this doesn't work. But they're putting a competitive team on the field and they're trying at every position. And that is ultimately a general manager's job, is field the best team possible, try and do it cost effective, try and do it low risk, but put together a competitive team across the board. And I'm not sure how you as a Titans fan could come into this offseason and not have had your expectations blown away. We all make this, fantasy wish list, right? It's your Christmas list that you're sending to Santa Ran before the offseason of, I would like Quandre Diggs or Justin Simmons. I would like Calvin Ridley on my team. I would like this and that and this and that. Like, who would have thought they'd get Ridley, trade for L'Jarius Sneed, go sign Cheeto, who was like the one cornerback that I wanted, and he's like their third most important defensive move up to this point. It really is remarkable, and I don't think anybody in the Titans community can sit back right now and say that they're disappointed with what the Titans have done in an offseason, and that's rare, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and so your one word aggressive, right? Because they're being aggressive in every type of the word, right? Not even just on the football field and how what this defense is going to be or what the offense is going to be. We're starting to see the offense be more aggressive. We'll talk more about training camp observations and notes later in the show. But a word that somebody in the chat brought up that leads me to my one word. Darren says one factor is team chemistry. Who knows how this turns out? And so Darren's word of chemistry there brings up my one word for the Titans signing Quandre Diggs, free agent safety, last night, agreeing to terms. And that one word is relationships. I think when you're looking at these new faces, because Darren is correct, team chemistry is very important. And with a lot of new veteran guys who are getting highly paid, who maybe come from a different franchise that have a different role in that franchise or are coming to something brand new together, it might take some time for team chemistry. But I think the key with this is the relationships within all of the acquisitions that are brought in. Like, just going through all this, I mean, there might be like 2 or 3 guys where you're like, I don't know about that relationship, right? Like, Cushenberry doesn't necessarily have a direct relationship to this Titans coaching staff coming from Denver, but he does have a college teammate past with Sadiq Charles, who came from Washington with running backs coach Randy Jordan. Like, L'Jarius Sneed doesn't truly have a relationship with anybody on this coaching staff, but he's one of the best corners in the game, so you kind of overlook that. And then the Chargers guys like Sebastian Joseph Day and Kenneth Murray, I don't necessarily know if there's a relationship that linked them other than just what they've proven in their talent. But you just see all of these relationships of Jamal Adams with Denard Wilson. Then you bring in Jamal Adams' guy, Quandre Diggs, to where they've been texting every day about, hey, maybe you come to Tennessee, maybe you come to Nashville with me. And you've got the Denard Wilson Adams history from back with the Jets. Then you know what Cheeto and Boyd's relationship is like. You know how Rain has created relationships with so many instant relationship with Calvin Ridley over a phone call, but Nick Holtz is there too. And so the relationships up and down this organization is why I think team chemistry is not something to really truly be concerned about, because there's a link with just about everybody.
Yeah, I mean, remember, like, Jamal Adams his agent was Rand's agent back when Rand was playing football, and Jamal Adams' dad played football with Rand Carthon's dad. Like, weird connections that just go so deep. But that's part of what the Titans are trying to do. That, like, the first time head coach, kind of a lot of change in the way the Titans do things, and they're really trying to establish culture. Rand Carthon, Brian Callahan are trying to establish the culture of what the new Titans are going to be, how they're going to do things, what their reputation is going to be like around the league. And, because of that, I think they've put extra emphasis on these relationships. They want to know that they're getting players who are reliable, who can help reinforce, as we put, in the title of today's show, their goals for the season and the culture that they are trying to build. If you know somebody's character, you know whether or not they are for the culture. And so I think that it's all been very intentional, kind of this spider web of relationships that Callahan and Carthon have sowed here, from the coaching staff to the players and all the way down. But I think that that's good. It's great for a first-year head coach. It's great to kind of build that reputation around the league where you've got a guy like Quandre Diggs on the phone with his boy Jamal Adams, and Jamal's saying, "Hey, I love Denard Wilson. I love this defense. I love Big Jeff. I like playing with these guys. You'll have fun here. Come on down, bro." And then, it works. Players talk. And right now, it sounds like they're talking a lot of good stuff about the Tennessee Titans, and that's exactly where you want to be.
Absolutely. So, Sam, what I want to do, by the way, we got a big show this morning. I feel like football is back. Titans fans are re-engaged in this team, getting ready to go for this football season, as we're like, a week and a half technically in the training camp. So make sure you hit that like button. But what I want to do next, before we get to our practice observations from Saturday and Sunday, you were there for both of them. I was there on Saturday. Man, I missed, it looks like the blow up obstacle courses for the kids there on Sunday too. That was like some fun. But I want to get deeper into the personnel. How do we feel like Quandre Diggs impacts other personnel on the Titans defense in the secondary? Talking about Molden, Jamal Adams, and some others when it comes to the personnel groupings on the back end of the defense. So we'll get to that conversation. And then we've got some camp observations coming up here in a bit. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans, they can take care of you whenever you are looking to save money and or get a better coverage with your health partnership. So Farm Bureau Health Plans, they can take care of you. FBHP.com/ATOZ is our link. You can turn to them. They've been serving Tennesseans for 78 years. So much has changed across Tennessee during that time. Generations and generations, and technology and everything has changed since then. But Farm Bureau Health Plans, commitment to Tennesseans to make sure you have the right health coverage for your situation, for your family, whatever it may be. That's just tripled down. So Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/ATOZ is our link. And I'll say it all month long of August. If you want a shortcut to a better health coverage plan for you, DM me on Twitter, Austin Stanley 81. I will give you the direct contact to Farm Bureau Health Plans to get that process started with just even one less step right there. For a quick shortcut, I'll give you that direct contact email at fbhp.com/ATOZ, but you got to DM me if you want better coverage and lower rates. Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and BetMGM.com. They're the king of sports books, and you can get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses. Major League Baseball still going, Austin. I've been cooking with my no runs first inning. I feel like I've been on a little bit of a heater here. I've got another one for you guys coming up later in the show, so don't miss out on that. Make sure you're backing me on BetMGM today, but use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up and get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses. That's the way to do sports betting with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, so Sam, I want to ask you this question. What Titans player do you think the addition of Quandre Diggs impacts the most? Yeah. Who on the Titans defense do you think is impacted most? Now, that could be positive or negative, but who has the most impact from Quandre Diggs joining this defense?
I mean, for me, it just slides Elijah Molden down the depth chart or brings some competition in for Elijah Molden. So I have to say it is Elijah Molden here, because he's the one person who I believe his playing time is affected by this. I don't think this really impacts Jamal Adams all that much. I think Jamal Adams' role was going to be what it was, and whether it's Elijah Molden back as a safety alongside Hooker or, whether it's Quandre Diggs back there opposite of Hooker. Adams' role is not going to change. This probably makes life a lot easier for Amani Hooker and changes his responsibilities a little bit where, I've said I think Amani Hooker has the ability to be that ball hawking safety if the Titans really need him to be. Now he probably slides more into that strong safety role that we're accustomed to seeing him in, which he can do very well. And I think, it's nice for him to have another veteran opposite of him, just like he has for really all of his career with Kevin Byard. But Elijah Molden is the guy for me who is impacted the most by this and is potentially looking at a big, big decrease in playing time.
Yeah, I think he's the one who it impacts negatively the most. I'm curious to know how you thought about Elijah, because I don't think he's been bad in training camp, but I also don't think he's been good either. He's just kind of like he's made an interception on Levis. I guess that was Saturday off of the Jack Gibbons tip. And I think if Jack Gibbons didn't tip it, Elijah Molden would have caught it too. But he's been good in run defense a few times, I've noticed. But I think overall, he's just kind of been average, and I think they needed better, and that's clearly made by the signing.
Yeah, I mean, Elijah Molden, I agree with you. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been bad. He's kind of just been serviceable. I think that's kind of what he is, though. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's bad. I think he's a solid player that you like to have in your defense who has some flaws in his game. I think his speed is probably an issue for that role specifically. I've always viewed Elijah Molden as a better nickel corner than I have a safety, because size and tackling is something he does very well. He doesn't exactly run super well. And so when you're trusting him to be your guy that's coming downhill and making tackles in the run game, that could be a point of weakness for Elijah. And we've seen that. Austin, I'll remind you, Will Levis kind of had a little bit of a sidearm throw to Tyler Boyd, who kind of like leaked out in front of Roger McCreary. And then it's Roger McCreary and Elijah Molden chasing after Tyler Boyd, who, newsflash, is not fast, and nobody caught Tyler Boyd. And like, that was a real moment of being like, ooh, you got a couple of slow DBs there who are chasing after a wide receiver, not able to get there. So I've always been a fan of Elijah Molden's game. I really like his personality. He's a very good speaker. He has a role within this defense, but I don't know if free safety was really the position, or even strong safety was a position that I was super comfortable with him playing. So I think this is the right spot for him, which is he's your third safety and he's your fourth corner, and he can hop back and forth between those, spots depending on what the defensive situation calls for.
Yeah, Sam, I think you nailed it. Because in my reflection, the play where Tyler Boyd had, 65 yards after the catch for a touchdown had to have been when Rand Carthon was like, yeah, you still got Diggs' number. Tyler Boyd, and this is not against Tyler Boyd, but Tyler Boyd should never have a play where he has 65 yards after the catch. And that just shows you that you have a not fast defense, and you should be worried about your high-end speed. And Roger McCreary, who I like a lot too, we've seen him get beat in some of these, whether it's 7-on-7, 11s, or 1-on-1s, and most of the time he's getting beat, it's deep down the field. Tyler Boyd also kind of mossed him a little bit earlier in the week with a sideline catch, jumping up and plucking it away from him. That was a 30-ish yards down the field throw. And so Tyler Boyd got by McCreary on an underneath route, turned it up the sideline, and Elijah Molden didn't have the speed or the angle to catch him. And if you're not fast, if you know you're not a high-end guy, then you got to be able to take the angle to get Tyler Boyd down. Tyler Boyd's not A.J. Brown just gaining momentum like a freight train down the sideline. That's not what this is. And so Quandre Diggs should absolutely help that high-end speed in the back end. I think Elijah Molden's definitely getting knocked down a peg on this defense. I think for Amani Hooker, I think it's a great situation because now he has a veteran who he knows he can trust in the back end once they get their communication down and get comfortable with one another. But, somebody he can trust that's done it out there in the NFL for a long time. I think Amani Hooker has the most positive impact of anybody else. If you could, all right, who would be your top 6 defensive backs. If the Titans go dime, what 6 DBs are you putting on the field, Sam?
In dime, I would go
Let's say
Cheeto,
it's okay. Go ahead.
Cheeto, Sneed, Roger, Diggs, Hooker, Adams in dime. I just think Adams is better equipped for dime than Elijah Molden is. That speed off the edge is something that Molden can't really bring to the table, and Adams can. So in dime, I'm definitely going with Adams as that 6th guy. But it also depends on what you're kind of wanting from
Where are you
as
at?
did our listen. Like, are you bringing pressure? If you're bringing pressure, it better be Adams. If you're dropping into coverage, maybe it's Molden.
But I think you still have to have a little bit of muscle, in dime, because your inside linebacker in that spot is probably Kenneth Murray.
Yep.
And so, I think I would agree with you. I go Adams over Molden in that spot. Now, Section 240 brings up no Brownlee in dime. Not yet. I mean, I think Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is on his way.
I think
that.
Brownlee to me right now is your 3rd perimeter corner. But he's not going to overtake McCreary as like your 3rd guy. In dime, you probably want somebody who's a little bit bigger and more physical, like a Jamal Adams, or somebody who's a little bit quicker like Adams who can rush the passer. So I wouldn't throw Brownlee in there. I do think he sees the field and has some snaps in this defense. And then, if you do lose a Cheeto for a game or do lose a Sneed for a game, like you have a capable guy to step in and start on the perimeter for you. But I don't think he's in that top 6 in that particular situation.
I think in today's situation, like if MB says this isn't Madden, teams don't do that like specific. It's usually team specific. I get that, MB. Like, and also where are you on the field? What down and distance is it? All that stuff matters when you're talking about who's out there for dime. But I think if it's today where Cheeto's out, I think Rogers your 2nd outside corner with Sneed, and then maybe Brownlee Jr. is your inside slot. I might go Brownlee over Molden.
I like Brownlee more on the perimeter than I do in the slot. And I think the Titans do as well. They like his length and perimeter. They like his length and physicality out there. It kind of fits more of the mold of what they're looking for than a Roger McCreary. And I think it is very important for the Titans and for Roger McCreary to come into the season with him having a defined role. One of the things I think they've done so poorly with Roger the last few years is be like, you're inside and now you're outside because we need you outside. And Trey Avery's hurt. No, you're going to go to the outside. Or Christian Fulton's hurt. You're going to go to the outside. And then, everybody's back. Bump you back inside. Like, just let Roger play the slot. Let him be your nickel. Let him lock that part of the field down and you leave it at that. So Brownlee, the versatility of Jarvis Brownlee is an asset for that reason, because he can fill in any of the spots that your cornerbacks could leave open. Okay. And so he's the guy that I slot in instead of moving McCreary. Like, you don't cut off 2 parts of the snake to replace the one that goes down.
All right, so I get you. But so Jarvis, if Cheeto's unavailable like he is now, Brownlee's on the field if you got 6 DBs out there. Yeah, it just depends on So over Molden, you go Adams and Brownlee over Molden with Diggs back to the hook.
Yes, I do. Yes. I mean, it's kind of hard to see. Honestly, the way that Molden gets on the field for me is if he outperforms Jamal Adams or there's some injury concerns with Jamal Adams. And then he's your backup to either one of your safeties going down, which is an okay place for you to be. Like, I ultimately, like, if that's all Elijah Molden is, that's okay. It's still a valuable player and a good player in the league, but it's nice to have good players available off the bench instead of just being like, Shy Carter, go out there. It's like that, but that's what I mean. Sorry to throw a stray at Shy Carter, but that's what the Titans have done recently. That's what they've done in years past, is sit here and go, I don't know, we're going to bring in Terrell Edmonds and he's not going to do anything for us back there.
Yeah, for sure. Noah with the super chat here. Make sure you hit the like button if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Big show today. Hit that like button for us. It helps us continue to grow and have better conversations with you guys. Noah says Elijah is really just Jamal's backup now. Clearly an in-the-box safety due to lack of speed, solid covering underneath and hook zones, but not manning up. And I think Elijah Molden's first ever game as an NFL player when he gets smoked by Christian Kirk, then with the Cardinals in the 2021 season opener, I think was a big eye opener there of, Elijah Molden has vertical limitations. And you don't want a guy with vertical limitations playing safety, which is why I think Quandre Diggs was a good signing here. Now, I do want to point this out. Quandre Diggs, who made 3 Pro Bowls from 2020, 21, 22, 3 in a row, did not make the Pro Bowl last year. He did have a career high for tackles, 95 tackles in that Seahawks defense, but Quandre Diggs did have a career high missed tackle percentage in his career. So 17% missed tackle rate, which is not great. But I think that can be, without knowledge of watching the Seahawks defense, because I don't need to watch the Seahawks defense. But that tells me that Quandre Diggs was in a lot of situations where he probably had to make a play when guys in front of him were unable to make plays before it got to that point. If a safety has that high of a missed tackle rate.
Yeah. Nothing to add to that. I totally agree.
I just like, not everything's rainbow and sunshine, right? Like, I wanted to point that out. Like, he's 31 years old. Is a very good.
He was
player.
Still on the free agent market in August and signed a 1-year contract, right? Like, there are some realities to this as well. Noah says Adam should be linebacker and dime, right? Yes, no, I would agree with that. Adam's linebacker and dime, and pass rush.
Right. So, all right, Sam, let's go ahead and get to some training camp observations. You were at practice both Saturday and Sunday. Looking forward to hear some of the notebook here. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your injury needs. boneandjointtn.org is their website to book an appointment. It's so easy to book an appointment. If you have some type of injury that's bothering you, let's just say it's your lower back, because that's a common thing as we all get older and get busier with our work. But a lower back injury right there. So you go to boneandjointtn.org, you click that make an appointment button, and you sort in, you type your name, you say lower back, and it sorts the experts that deal with lower backs, and you can book an appointment on their schedule that best fits your schedule to go get it looked at, to not have that thing linger. Right there in Franklin off of I-65 and Highway 96, so easy to get to, and they've got all the experts and the resources right there. They also have clinics and rehab facilities across Williamson County and growing, so check them out online whenever you have that injury, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up. Get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses. And if you need a first bet, I've got you. I've been cooking on these no runs first inning. Nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody wants to back, but they've been cashing today. We're going to St. Louis. We're going to New York Mets and St. Louis Cardinals. Andre Palante against Sean Manaea. A 4:15 start in Central Time, a nice day game at Busch Stadium, a good pitcher's park there. And, a couple of lefties that have been getting it done recently. Sean Manaea has been on a little bit of a heater. The Cardinals have been riding their starting pitching. They just made a couple additions at the trade deadline. 2 teams fighting for that NL wild card as well. That's my pick. I'm loving that game today. Sean Manaea, Andre Palante, no run first inning. Do it on BetMGM and use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. And if it misses, I'm sorry, but don't worry. You can at least get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets with the code ATOZ Sports.
Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification. Eligible requirements. First online room money wager. Only rewards issued on bonus bets that expire 7 days. And for a problem game of sport, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. You have hit 3 in a row of these no run first inning bets. So can you make it 4? All right, Sam, training camp notebook. What do you have from Sunday's practice? We did put out a video on our YouTube channel after Saturday's practice with Sam and I breaking down what we saw there. So training camp notebook from the weekend, starting with Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Sunday's practice was what Brian Callahan referred to as the first time it had actually felt like training camp. And Austin, I can't really put my finger on it, but I felt the same way. Something about the flow of practice and the vibes on and off the field just kind of felt like training camp, like fun training camp. It was a good day on the practice field. It was mainly because it was a really competitive day, The day started with the defense getting the better of the offense. And, they came out in team period and there was a lot of sacks, a couple of sacks of Malik Willis, a couple of sacks of Will Levis, just a lot of pressure coming up front. Will Levis came out in the 7-on-7 period and only completed one pass. And it was just like really ugly early on. And you were just kind of like, what is going on that this defense is dominating so much? Will Levis also overthrew like a wide open check down during 11s where he had his guy like in the flat and he like lofted it and floated it 5 yards over his running back's head for no reason. And you kind of just go, what the heck is happening here? And then they went into like a side session, came back into a different period, and it was a complete 180. The offense took over at that point. They ran a red zone 11-on-11 period where each quarterback took 4 reps from various spots in the red zone. They made 12 plays. 6 of those plays resulted in a touchdown. 10 of those plays resulted in a big gain, with a couple of them being like a run or a pass to gain 10 yards from the 15. And then there were 2 like neutral plays, but no quarterback threw an incomplete pass. It was dominance from the Titans QBs, and each one of them went for 2 touchdowns each. So Will Levis threw 2 touchdowns. Mason Rudolph threw 2 touchdowns. Malik Willis threw a touchdown and scrambled for a touchdown on a nice read without really any hesitation. So the offense fought right back. I thought all 3 quarterbacks made some highlight plays. I thought Mason Rudolph was the most consistent of the 3 quarterbacks and had the most successful day as a whole. So that was my initial note. We can get a little bit into which players really stood out to me as well. But Brian Callahan said it really felt like a competitive day. There was a lot of friendly trash talk and just a nice, fun, competitive practice.
Yeah, I see a couple comments from the chat that I think are completely missing the mark. Darren, training camp should not be fun, LOL. And then Kenny says, I agree. If you're having fun, then it's either not hard enough or you're not participating hard enough. I don't think that's the point there. I think it's the fact that it's a back and forth, spirited, exciting, win some, lose some, win some type of battle that is fun and entertaining to watch. I mean, I think some of you guys are taking that a little too. They're not out there like smiling and just doing fun drills and laughing and telling jokes. I think that's the different type of fun.
I agree.
Right?
No, yeah. I mean, it's fun in the sense of like you're playing football and it's competitive football. And so you're getting beat and you're getting frustrated and then you're making plays and you're getting hyped up by your sideline. And, the offense and defense have this like personal, they take it very personally in training camp, especially when you go through some of these live periods. And, it had felt like the first week of practice for me, Austin, and these first 3 padded practices were ironing out some of these kinks. And then, you've also got chippiness that boils over into fights. And it was just tense. And this was a practice that I felt like was competitive, was people going at each other, but all in the spirit of we're on the same team and we're having fun playing football. So it felt like how training camp is supposed to feel.
It's like defining fun. Like I don't play pickup basketball and I stopped playing because I couldn't find fun games. Because fun games to me is when all 10 guys are out there trying to work and trying to be competitive, not just being lackadaisical and stuff. That's not fun. Fun is going hard. And I think that's what the Titans are doing is they're going hard at each other and winning and losing back and forth, which I think is great. Seeing how one side of the ball or one group responds to the other group getting the best of them earlier in practice. So I'm bummed that I missed it because it does sound like it was an old school training camp feel there from Titans camp. So what other notes did you have as far as practice over the weekend?
So a note that I think is actually worth watching here is the Mason to Mason connection, Austin. And I know Titans fans might be kind of sick of hearing about this a little bit, but Mason Kinsey had himself a day yesterday. I mean, his connection with Mason Rudolph is real. Like the 2 of them, he is Mason Rudolph's go-to wide receiver, unquestionably, on that second unit. By the way, on the second unit, Kinsey has been running ahead of Kyle Phillips. He's been running ahead of Jaquan Jackson. He's been running ahead of a lot of wide receivers and balling out. Yesterday, he had a drill in one-on-ones that he caught the ball in the back of the end zone, hit his head and like speared the goalpost and went down with an injury that looked bad. And then Next thing you know, he's up, he's back in the drills. And I think he had 5 chunk plays or touchdown catches during full team period, all from Mason Rudolph. Like, the connection was just serious and seriously real. Brian Callahan gave him a shout out when talking about the competition at slot. And so I'm not ready to pronounce Mason Kinsey dead yet, because I do think there is a 6th wide receiver spot open for whoever can prove themselves to be the best slot option. And I think it's between Kinsey, Phillips, and Jaquan Jackson competing for that role. And I still think it's up in the air. I don't think there's a clear front runner at the moment in that job.
So I like how Mason Kinsey practices. I think it's good to have him. Like on Saturday, I remember he caught the touchdown pass and then he punted it like 1,000 yards into the sky straight up.
Yeah. I mean, he got a $17,000 fine letter from Brian Callahan for that. And then he got to the end of the letter, realized that Brian Callahan was joking with him when he sent him this fine. And then he was like, okay, but maybe no more punting the ball after I score touchdowns. We'll just have to. But he is a talker. He likes to talk.
Yes, and he was one at the very beginning of the fight that heard around the world on Wednesday's practice last week. But here's the thing about Mason Kinsey, because he's still fighting for a spot. He's never going to not fight for a spot. You mentioned that he's getting snaps over Jaquan Jackson and Kyle Phillips and some of the other guys that are working for that slot spot, or that maybe that 6th wide receiver position. Here's how I view the Mason Kinsey situation in camp. He's always going to get reps with the 1s and the 2s early on in camp. The further camp goes along, the more Kinsey gets less of those reps. And it's not because of anything that he does. I think it's because of what the others end up doing. And I've seen this now for a couple of years now, because most of the time coaching staffs trust Mason Kinsey. He's going to do the right thing in the practice rep. He's going to do his job, do it 100% speed, and go all out and make it tough on the defense. That's good early in camp. But then now once you get to like this week, this is the 3rd week of practice. Then next week you have the Seahawks coming in for the 4th week of practice. When will the move change of Jaquan Jackson starting to mix in with some of those Mason Rudolph reps for Mason Kinsey? And when does Kinsey go back to Malik Willis?
Listen,
it's going to happen at some point.
If he keeps playing like he's playing, I don't know if it does, Austin.
But like Ryan Tannehill was working with Kinsey, Kyle Phillips rookie year, and then at some point, Kyle Phillips started to get those reps with Tannehill over Mason Kinsey.
One of the things I talked to Mason about yesterday, which I thought was really interesting, was like he loves the fact that there's a new coaching staff. And kind of what he talked to me about was he feels like it's an opportunity for him to set his own ceiling. Under Mike Vrabel, as much as, he respected Mike Vrabel and liked playing for Mike Vrabel, it did feel like what you said, right? They had a cap on what Mason was capable of. And so they would play him with the 1s for so long, then move him down, then slide him down, then throw him on the practice squad. I do think Brian Callahan has a more open-minded approach to his offense and to seeing what some of these players can do. And so I think, Kinsey views this as an opportunity to say, hey, if I play the best of any of these slot guys, not named Tyler Boyd, I can earn that 6th spot and be on the active roster. Punt return could be a factor here. I think Jackson, Phillips, Kinsey, all candidates for punt returner. Jackson is probably the best punt returner in my eyes, but also unreliable. When you unreliable in the sense of we haven't had it proven to us yet. Like when I've talked when I've talked to Brian Callahan about Jaquan Jackson, it's a lot of he's still learning a lot of stuff, versus when it's Kinsey or Phillips, it's a lot of they're making plays out there right now. So there's a long way to go in camp, and we've spent too long talking about this already. But my point is, I don't think this is not done. This race is not done. And the fact that he's got a good relationship with Mason Rudolph is interesting to me and something worth noting. I'm going to move on.
Okay. All right. I'll save. I do have one more.
We've spent 10 minutes here talking about the 6th wide receiver where I've got other camp notes.
Okay. Other notes.
Okay. Cedric Gray flashed for the first time at practice. Cedric Gray, not really a name that I had noted much during camp up to this point, but he had a sack on Malik Willis. He had a couple nice TFLs. Seemed to get a little bit more comfortable and get in the backfield, where I looked up and said, hey, look, Cedric Gray's making plays. So I still prefer the Gibbons-Murray connection. I still think that's far more likely to begin camp. I would also note for Titans fans that are kind of curious, like Chance Campbell has made plays, and I would say both Gray and Chance Campbell, to me, are above Otis Reese right now. And Otis Reese was a name that was brought up a lot in the, before the season started as watch out for Otis Reese. But from what we've seen in camp, it's not there for Otis Reese right now. And just the plays have not been made versus Campbell, Cedric Gray, maybe a couple of guys on the rise that I thought was interesting. Tandre Sweat is a dude. He is a dude. What's new? Sam is sitting here talking about how great Tandre Sweat is, but Sweat can be felt on that defensive line. They've been doing a lot of offensive line, defensive line one-on-ones, Austin, and Lloyd Cushenberry is getting just grabbed and shoved 10 yards backwards when he goes against Tandre Sweat. Brian Callahan talked yesterday and said, one, Sweat has overachieved everything he thought he would be. He's been everything they thought he could be and then some, in the words of the head coach, and says he stands back there watching his offense and from 15 yards behind the ball can feel Tavondre's impact behind the ball and just the power and pressure and force that's coming at you. He sacked Will Levis during a period. The Titans did a period of full team where they were taking the ball at the 1 yard line and then trying to get the ball out. And the first play, their own one, and they're trying to, create some separation. And first play, Levis handed the ball off to Pollard, who fell forward and gained 5 yards, got them out to the 6. The second play, Tandre Sweat bull rushed and sacked Levis in the end zone for a safety. And him and Jeffrey Simmons were all like, it could have been either one of them with the sack. And then they're dancing around and Simmons is doing the Mike Keith impression. He's literally going back going, sack. Like he's impersonating the Titans radio announcer to let everybody know what just happened. This is scary, man. It's dangerous. I've tried to tell people, but I think Titans fans are finally starting to listen and everybody's buying stock. Buy stock in Tandre Sweat.
I literally think it's dangerous for Tandre Sweat to do one-on-ones versus offensive linemen individually. I think that's actually dangerous. Like, because you had the video that went viral of him bending over a guy backwards, literally folding him like a damn table in Buffalo at a tailgate.
Poor Bo Limmer, Arkansas center Bo Limmer
he was very limber too. It was not the wrong way or not the correct way. And so Sweat, I think, is fascinating. I just can't wait to continue to see it. Right? I keep wanting to see more.
I can't wait.
So Hassani comes in and says, I told y'all Sweat would be a factor. And then somebody else came in.
I need to go.
All the negative y'all have for Sweat. Don't switch up now. Sam did not. Sam was always on the Tandre Sweat train, doing all of that. But, I was a little bit lacking. I didn't like the value at 38, but we'll kind of see how this continues to play out. Can he remain in shape? And we'll see how that goes. So, all right. I
need Hassani to rectify that situation in the chat. There is no bigger Tandre Sweat supporter. Quite literally, maybe not a bigger Tandre Sweat supporter than me. You go back to the Senior Bowl. Look at the tape, man. This is my guy. I'm going down with it. Matter of fact, I might go back to the draft show, Austin, and watch back the draft show that I did with Jack Gentry and Lucas Panzica and just take some notes. Take some notes about some of the comments.
You and Jack will be on the show tomorrow. I have an off day. So maybe you and Jack can do a bigger Tandre Sweat conversation because we've talked about it in like minute 57 of the show today with a lot of different things happening over the weekend, including Quandre Diggs. So maybe that could be a really interesting conversation that you guys can revisit based on the progress that Tandre Sweat has made in the first 2 weeks of training camp.
Yeah. A few other notes. we had a third interception from Matthew Jackson, his third interception of full team period in camp. He got Malik Willis during team period, that same period where they were backed up against the one. They picked up a first down or two, and then Malik soared a pass over the middle, and Matthew Jackson was there to take it home for a pick. Injury situation. Sadiq Charles still out for personal reasons. Jamal Adams has been out for over a week now. Unknown injury. Cheeto Awuzie, calf injury. Brian Callahan says they're being careful not to rush him back because of the nature of calf injuries. Garrett Wallow hurt his shoulder in practice and left early. And then on Saturday's practice, Caleb Farley left early with what Callahan said was a hamstring, and he did not practice on Sunday. Doesn't seem major, but Caleb Farley out temporarily as well.
Yeah, how was Traylon Burks on Sunday? Because you and I watching Saturday, Traylon had a play where he fell hard.
Healthy.
Good.
Traylon didn't make any notable catches to me, not a huge impact, but healthy, and got a lot of praise from his teammates after practice. I like L'Jarius Sneed said he goes up to Traylon all the time and says, "You're so much better from what I've been seeing in the previous years this year," and keeps encouraging him. So all positives for Traylon. Didn't do a ton that flashed during team period, but also could have set up his teammate. I haven't seen the all 22 of practice. He's healthy though, which is good.
You getting those these days? Somebody's sending you the all 22 practices?
I wish.
that would be nice. That would be nice. All right. That'll do it for, I do see you have some favorited comments. So, Jerome, what happened to UT Martin receiver Titans drafted last year? That's Colton Dowell. He tore his ACL late in December, and so he's on the PUP, physically unable to perform list.
Yeah. He might miss the whole year. It's going to be a while before we see Colton Dowell.
I think that. And then Bork, nice wig, bro. And Jared, Austin, where's your wig and eye patch? Look, it didn't happen. I told you guys it was going to happen today on Friday. I didn't expect Buck Rising to find a dog in North Nashville on the side of the road that he had to go take in and then figure out how to help get a dog rescue on the phone. So I did not plan for that this morning. So I needed to help Buck out a little bit. So that I used my time helping Buck. That I would have spent grabbing the wig and the eye patch from the side closet that we have here at the house. So that is
sounds like
that
Wednesday.
Is why.
Sounds like Wednesday outside the facility. You're gonna have to.
It might have to be I might just have to literally bite that bullet and
or Friday. You could do Friday too.
Yep, we'll have to see. Friday's just so far away. Yeah, it's just so far away. Jimmy says, "Get my stuff together." My stuff together. I just ran out of time. All right, Sam, it is now time for the age game. I have an age game person that I'll bring to the table today to see if you can get on the age game board for the second time. At first, shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon. Say hey to Payne Bone for us while you're there, getting that new ride. Save some money. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Sam, this age game. You what?
I hit the chat.
Oh, you hit the chat.
Yep.
Good. All right. So this age game person comes from watching the Olympics. If you watch any Olympics on NBC or Peacock or wherever you do, you know that they show a bunch of celebrities in Paris. I see a lot of celebrities there.
I think I know where you're going. Can I guess where you're going?
Sure.
Well, I know you're a women's gymnastics fan. And I know that they showed Ava Mendez and Ryan Gosling while Suni Lee was doing her uneven bars routine. So
that's correct. I had no idea that Eva Mendez and Ryan Gosling were together. That was good news.
There's a shock.
Apparently they've been together for 13 years.
I learned that when Ryan Gosling gave an acceptance speech for playing Ken in the Barbie movie, and he was shouting out Eva Mendez.
So
but is that where you're going?
Before people can Google, how old is Eva Mendez? How old is Eva Mendez? Right there. This is them in the crowd watching gymnastics. I believe this was Saturday during the vault competition, where I don't think Eva Mendez knows what's great when it comes to vault, as she seemed to be asking questions and not really celebrating like the others were. But how old is Eva Mendez? First correct comment. There's no Googling allowed. How old is Eva Mendez? Somebody a couple
Mm.
weeks ago challenged us to say, hey, you guys don't do women in the age game, which is a dangerous thing to play.
We've done
But
back to back, and I'm
right.
worried about this one.
I didn't even know. So Eva Mendes and Ryan Gosling have been together since like 2011. They also have 2 kids together. It's apparently very rare that they are seen together in public. They live a very private life outside of the actual work that they do. So how old is Eva Mendes? They're not married officially, but partner.
I don't feel like I'm gonna get this right at all. I feel like I'm all over the place. I feel pretty confident that she's older than him by a chunk. I would say by a chunk, she's older than him. Okay. Ooh, that they have 2 kids, 3 kids. How many kids they have?
2.
This might be disrespectful, but it's honestly even lower than my gut first told me. So sorry, Eva. 47.
47 is the guess from Sam. Eva Mendes. Louis, first comment in, says, gonna say 57.
Yeah. I was up there. I was in the my first instinct started with a 5, but then I took it back because I didn't want to be that wrong.
53. Incorrect. Take Rock says 45. Incorrect. Kenny, 48. Just 1 year different than Sam. That is incorrect. American Top, 42. That is wrong. Bobby Carter, 48. We said wrong. 46 from Eric Castillo is wrong. Bork says 39. Way off. 44, 43 are wrong. 56 from Tyke is also wrong. Yuri comes in with Sam's 47 guess. That is incorrect. It is not right.
Oh, no.
And here is what I am very afraid of. Is because right here we have this leaderboard, and I was trying to get on here before we had a 3-time winner, and we've had a couple more people be correct since this board has been updated as multiple and 2-time winners. We have our first 3-time champion of the age game before I even win one.
If it's 51, I'm going to be mad.
Titans Kyle, she is 50. Eva Mendes turned 50 in March.
Okay. There you go.
6 years older than her partner, Ryan Gosling.
44 surprises me for him. That I would have been way off had you given me Ryan Gosling.
What would you have guessed Ryan Gosling?
35.
35?
Maybe, yeah.
I'm 34.
I think Ryan Gosling looks like he's 35, yeah. I don't think
he was in Remember the Titans that came out in 2001. Just
yeah. So. I guess that makes sense. I would.
Jared Gibson says that he said 50 before Kyle. Not according to my stream that shows things in the order they come in. So
because I would have thought Ryan Gosling, maybe this is wrong of me, but I would have thought he was like similar to Ryan Reynolds in age. Like
how old did we say Ryan?
But like again, I thought Ryan Reynolds was in his 30s. He's 47. So like I would have thought they were both in their mid to late 30s. They look good.
Yeah, they've been around. Yeah, well, yeah. It's like you're not, the whole thing about Tom Brady. You're not ugly. You're just poor. Like it's that whole thing, right? When you're rich, you can look a lot younger for a lot longer. And yeah, it's the longevity of career. And just to confirm, yes, Titans Kyle was the first 50. I'm sorry, Jared. You were literally like 2 comments behind Kyle on YouTube. So it's tough. But man, I am so bummed that a 3-time winner has gotten on the board before I've gotten on the board once. That is a bad thing for me. But that is it for today's show. Big, busy show. Glad to have a bunch of you guys in here. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. There's a lot of content out. Sam, you've got an article that you posted last night about Quandre Diggs, so go check that out if you haven't already. No Titans practice today or tomorrow, open to the media. We'll be back on the practice field Wednesday and Thursday before the first preseason game on Saturday. So it's officially game week. So if you haven't hit the like button, at least like the show for game week is here for the 2024 Tennessee Titans. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Tuesday. Buck Rising live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll catch you later. Appreciate it as always.